The biggest misconception when it comes to public speaking is that you're going to magically feel ready or fearless to start putting yourself out there. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case. As much as people see me now and they see that my mission is to get more women in tech on stages and that I've delivered over 100 talks for the likes of Google, Figma, Depop, I've been flown out, I get paid to speak. But what they don't see was that in 2018, I hated public speaking. Literally the thought of it would send shockwaves down my whole body because I genuinely just felt like I wasn't good enough. I was so scared of messing up in front of everyone. Most importantly, I didn't have any idea what I'd even talk about, but I didn't see what I see now, which is how much public speaking can and will change your life and career. So in 2018, that's actually when I realized, I first came across this idea that you can career change. So just because you studied economics and accounting like I did, didn't mean that you couldn't break into being a software engineer. So essentially, I did a Code First Girls course. We spent 6 weeks developing, a full-on prototype, HTML, CSS. My first website was finally built. But when it came to presenting it, I remember this moment so clearly. I'm going up in the elevator and I'm feeling tight compression in my chest. This overwhelming sense of dread and almost just hope that I wouldn't have to present the live demo that me and my group had spent literal weeks building out this website to do. Here's what caught everyone by surprise. Because I was so conversational, very confident in myself, when I was opening up to my group and I was saying things like, look, I don't know if I can do this. I'm really, really scared. I'm so nervous. So I was so open and vulnerable, which was not perceived well at all. I thought that they would, really be comforting and whatnot, but they weren't. They were mostly confused about why I was panicking so much. I don't think they could comprehend that someone that was so confident and conversational could dread the whole idea of presenting in front of an actual audience, and a live demo at that. They weren't the best people, to be honest, and I felt unsupported. And I remember feeling so embarrassed that I was feeling this way, now that they knew I was feeling that way. I had to just put on a brave face and just kind of pretend. So when it came to the panic that I was feeling internally, now it was only internal and you could not tell from my exterior that I was feeling this way. I realized after the moment, I presented, it was okay. But what I realized afterwards was public speaking was a skill I needed to develop. The room wasn't just full of people who were doing the course and we were all kind of stumbling together to break into tech. It was full of people also who worked at the company, who were looking at talent, who was going to be potentially the ones that they wanted to put forward for job roles. I realized that demo was one, of course it was presenting a website, but it was actually almost presenting myself and my skill set to position me to be able to break into tech and land the role at that company. So I kind of parked the idea of public speaking because now I'm thinking I just want to finish my university degree and I want to focus more on coding and building that up as a skill. So you can imagine when the pandemic hit, now I'm thinking to myself, I have nothing more to lose. I've got nothing left to lose. I'm kind of at wit's end when it comes to me procrastinating on my goals, when it came to the fact that I hated public speaking, I was still avoiding it. And during the pandemic, I figured that this is the worst that it gets. Then I've got nothing more to lose. I've got no more ego. The perfectionism it was still there, but I wasn't willing to let it dictate my life the way it was beforehand. I did a few unhinged things. Firstly, I decided to teach for Code First Girls. So I was going to teach their web development fundamentals, knowing that I had not successfully broken into tech, but I knew I'd be able to learn the skill and deliver it live in the sessions. Secondly, I also became a Code First Girls ambassador, which involved a lot of public speaking. Like I'm talking about, I was representing Code First Girls for the likes of Barclays, HubSpot. I was doing a live coding session in front of 450 people for GCHQ. Like it was no small feat, but it helped me to build up those reps and build up my network and competence and understanding that I didn't need this iconic message to start public speaking. I just needed to, at that time, represent an amazing organization and showcasing the work that they're doing. And I got actively involved with coding communities and mentorship schemes. And in the coding communities, they'd post about if anyone in the community wanted to run a session or when they had lightning talks. And then when it came to the mentorship scheme, I signed up for a particular one called the Mentor Circle. And at the end, you needed to be able to pitch what you learned from that course in order to win a cash prize. To my absolute surprise, I win the cash prize. I am the winner. Delicious. This is around 2020 and years go on and I'm still getting involved with Code First Girl. I was actually an ambassador for them for a few years. So I'm developing my public speaking skills. I break into tech and I decide that I'm ready for the next thing now. As much as I've been doing my online stuff with the communities, it's still the pandemic, so there wasn't really that in-person experience I could have done. When the gates started to open and we were released, I started to apply for in-person conference experiences, and that was incredible. I was so scared. Like when I was applying, I was thinking things like, what if no one takes me seriously? What if I trip and fall in front of everyone? I won't have the comfort of my notes anymore. All the panic when it came to, what if I deliver a talk that people find boring? What if they're just on their phone? And that's why I love the idea of this MVP, the minimal viable product. We use it all the time in tech, but when it comes to our own lives, that's when we kind of forget it. I found myself comparing my year one of public speaking to people who had literally been public speaking for the last 10 years. It helped me to give myself the permission to show up as I am now. But then I got a few messages after that talk. One, I was getting messages like people saying that there's open roles and if I know anyone. And from some of those talks, I've had recruiters remember me and reach out to me when it came to amazing job opportunities. So much so that jobs have literally been created for me because people saw me on stage and they thought to themselves, this sounds like someone we want in our organization. And on top of that, the conference speaking experience where you get paid, they sort out a hotel for you. I was like, this is something I could get used to. As much as that self-doubt was very real and I felt super insecure about my speaking skills, it didn't actually outweigh all the benefits that came with it. And in 2023, I decided that I'm going to set myself a personal challenge, even though I was working full time, to do as many speaking gigs as I possibly could. And I ended up doing over 40 speaking gigs in that time. It was unhinged. I was definitely burnt out during this year. It gave me that confidence in terms of a few things. One, knowing what I wanted to talk about. I was kind of recycling between different messages. I didn't have a clear idea of what I wanted to be known for. So I was experimenting with different topics, but it was a great way for me to always feel challenged and understand what resonates with audiences, what I want to be known for, what I'm resonating with, and also to give me the skill of how to bounce back when things went wrong. Not if, when. So a few things happened during this year. Number one, the screen went out and no one could see my slides, which meant that in person, now I'm talking to an audience and the audience is looking at me and I'm looking at them and I'm speaking directly to them and I'm trying not to let the fact that I can't see my own slides ruin this entire talk. Secondly, I literally blanked on stages, not just one stage, multiple stages. And I thought that it would be a lot more embarrassing, but actually it was great that it happened because I realized that I wasn't just blank and just walked off stage and didn't finish my talk. I blanked, I recovered, and I carried on. And that was actually a really powerful thing for me to see that I would be able to do such a thing. To 2023 and 24, now that I'm showcasing and I'm documenting the entire process of me doing these talks, now people are saying things to me like, I came to this event because of you. Now the pressure was on in the way it wasn't on in 2023 or in my previous years. And that actually knocks my confidence for a really long time. I'd get so psyched out with what if people are disappointed. Whereas beforehand, when no one knew who I was, it actually felt a lot more low stakes than when people literally say that they're expecting you to be great now. I've learned the hard way that people actually don't need you to be the most polished speaker. But when you are speaking, they want it to be raw and relatable. So when people tell me things like they don't think their story is very interesting, I don't think my story is very interesting. In fact, this video was surprisingly hard for me to do because I felt like, am I being self-indulgent? Which is exactly the things that other people say to me. The question shouldn't be, is my story interesting enough? The question should be, is my story relevant? And what point are you trying to convey? What I'm looking to convey is showcasing my journey when it came to me hating public speaking to being where I am now, which is a very confident public speaker who teaches other women how to publicly speak. And so I allowed myself to go on that journey and showcase that. And for those that weren't interested, that's okay. Not everyone is going to be interested. What I didn't realize was that early 2025, when I lost my public speaking confidence, I didn't realize that I wasn't prepping myself properly when it came to speaking. So I wasn't doing any grounding techniques, so my anxiety would follow me to the stage, and now the thoughts would just take over. And so when I was flown out to deliver a talk for the Women in Tech SEO conference in Berlin, that's when I decided to try out something different. Doing a grounding technique when it comes to breathing, I'm walking around to get the adrenaline out of my body. And then when I go on stage, I tell myself, I'm going to give this everything I got. I needed to tell myself, and there were certain narratives that kept repeating itself in my brain. So one thing was, everyone already knows this, I'm boring, no one cares, this is basic. And I just decided to tell myself a few things, knowing that the things that were psyching me out, I was just saying to myself the opposite. No one knows this, and even if they did know it, and even if they do know it, they've never heard it from me. They've never heard it from me. I'm relying less now on the external validation from the audience. I'm relying more on what do I want them to get out of this? How do I want them to feel? Am I going to be the most polished speaker, or am I going to be the most raw person showcasing my story, my energy, and waking up that room to take in that message that I want to leave them with? And that was the best talk I've ever done. That is the best talk I've ever done. Of course, I still get nervous before talks. I'm human. So again, this whole idea of being fearless, and it's not true. It's definitely not true for me, at least. I get incredibly nervous about being on stages. The difference is that now, I feel that fear and do it anyway. The difference is that now I don't use that fear as a sign to retreat and to avoid. I know that fear is something that's normal. And so it's normal for me to feel nervous. So what are the techniques that I can use to channel those nerves into something else? And knowing that the nerves don't just disappear when you start. Sometimes you're powering through those nerves. And in different scenarios, I'm going to show up differently, and that's okay. And that's exactly what I teach and Brave on Stage. I got on stages, but the problem isn't solved with just me getting on stages. I'm genuinely so sick and tired of going to tech conferences and seeing an all-male lineup that I know all these talented women who would be exceptional speakers. They just need that guidance and support to essentially help them with the over-editing and support when it comes to actually writing the talk, developing it in a way that for your audience are really going to resonate and build that tension so that they're on the edge of their seat, so they need to know more, so that you're able to showcase your own speaking style. These are the things that I teach. If you're waiting to feel ready to publicly speak, I promise you'll be waiting forever. That's exactly why I built the 6-week program Brave on Stage, to help women in tech who have things to say, but to help them to recognize that these things are really valuable. I promise you, I did not want to showcase my story. So if you found it valuable, that is proof that just because you may not resonate and you don't want to talk about it, doesn't mean it isn't resonating with someone else. We need more women on stages, and the whole point of the 6-week program is so that you're able to showcase your talk as yourself, and we're building it together. So if you're alone and you're over editing and you're deleting things that people actually want to hear, that's exactly what we solve. And by the end of it, you'll literally have the opportunity to either present it live in person, your talk in London, and you'll have the option to present it virtually in the case that you don't. And now I want other women in tech to get on stages. Yes, you heard my journey. Like, it's not the most straightforward, but I can say fundamentally it's changed my confidence, the way that I show up. Now I can say that if anything happened in my role, like if I wanted a new job, I can lean in on the contacts that I've made. Now I feel like through public speaking, and I've built up that massive network, I've gained opportunities I can only dream of. Being flown out to attend a conference in Amsterdam just because someone remembered me and my personal brand that I've built from public speaking. If you're a woman in tech and you want to get on tech stages, then this is for you. Brave on Stage has been built to do exactly that. The whole goal at the end is not only to come up with your signature style, develop your talk, finding your own unique message, and then delivering that talk either in person in London or virtually, but also it's going to give you that runway so that you can go on this journey, that you can do your speaking gigs and getting that expertise and all the benefits that come with public speaking. You can book your no commitment call with me so that we can discuss things like timings, more about Brave on Stage, whether it's curriculum, other results that we've gotten, whatever it is, you can book that call with me. And the link should be in the description bar below.